Welcome to the Control Engineering webcast. Workforce Digital Transformation, Build the Business Case and Get Buy-in, sponsored by Honeywell. I'm your moderator, Mark T. Hosky, and I'm happy to join you today on behalf of Control Engineering. Here are some tips to help you get the most from today's webcast. If you're experiencing issues with your slide or audio, refresh your browser or click the Refresh Media button directly under the presenter's picture. You can control the volume of the webcast by adjusting the volume on your computer or by adjusting the volume on the webcast platform. If you're having technical problems with audio or the slide presentation, click on the question mark at the top right corner of the screen to access a list of system checks to try before contacting an online technician. But if you do need a technician, click on the question mark at the top right corner of the screen to access a list of system checks. And then you can type a message in the Ask a Question box and someone will get to you as quickly as possible. So type questions for our speaker in the Ask a Question box on the left side of the screen. The live Q&A will begin after the presentation concludes. Today's webcast is being recorded and you'll receive an email within a week with the link to the on-demand event. To download a certificate of completion and a PDF copy of the presentation, use the Event Resources tab on the left side of the screen. Those documents also will be available with the on-demand version of the webcast. I'm happy to introduce today's presenter, Manas Dutta. Manas is the General Manager for the Workforce Excellent BTI portfolio. He has 20 years industrial experience, the last 15 with Honeywell. His work experience includes maintenance of petrochemical plants, power plant project engineering, product development, and product management. Before joining Honeywell, Manas worked with ABBL Limited and Haldia Petrochemicals Limited in India. He holds a bachelor's degree in electronics and instrumentation and is a certified Scrum Master. He is also INCOS ASEP System Engineering and Six Sigma Green Belt certified. He holds 5 granted U.S. patents in industrial software products. Thank you for joining us today, Manas, and now I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Mark, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Thank you for joining this session, and it's a very important topic in today's situation. And if you see, these are the topics, these are the points we are going to cover today. We'll talk about industry challenges. We'll talk about a typical day in the life of an industrial worker. And then when we talk about workforce, industrial workforce, and transforming them using digital technologies, there are some user adoption challenges. We'll cover that part. Then how do we really build the business case for such digital transformation? We will give a quick introduction to Honeywell Workforce 360 portfolio, which is mainly focusing on people efficiency improvement using digital technologies, and then share a couple of case studies. And at the end, we'll have a Q&A session. So let's start with industry challenges. Now, these challenges that we are going to talk, 5 challenges, which are common across all types of industries that we are seeing and across the globe. It's not specific to any particular country or any particular region or any particular industry. It starts with workforce churn, that a great number of people who have worked in industry for last 20, 30, 40 years, they are retiring. And whatever they have gained in terms of knowledge in this 20, 30, 40 is not only a bookish knowledge. They have really worked on different manufacturing facilities, learned by doing things over and over again, and they have gained that tribal knowledge that is there sitting on their head, and it's not codified in a way that people who are joining now can easily access to that. And on top of it, we are also seeing that number of people who are working out and the number of people replacing them, the net effect is negative. So if 100 people are working out, it does not mean that 100 new workers are joining that industry or that particular manufacturing facility. So that leads to that next point, that every industry, they have a tremendous margin pressure. They have to do more with less. The number of headcount, the number of workers working in the facility is going down day by day, but the expectations on production, expectation on margin is increasing. So how can we help industries or manufacturing facilities to improve the productivity of the workforce, whoever is working, and make them more efficient? Then comes the jobs. The jobs itself, we are seeing evolving. So the way in 90s or early 2000 or maybe in early 2010 as well, we are seeing a transition in the nature of the job, with many different technologies coming in, specifically with Industry 4.0, the digital transformation that is happening to improve process reliability, asset reliability, and also optimize the different work that different departments do. The nature of the jobs are changing continuously, and it is changing faster than ever. Then fourth one is about attracting and retaining the top talent. Specifically in the manufacturing industry, we are seeing that as a challenge because of the digital divide which is created. The other industries where it's more of a desk job and there is a huge digital transformation already happened, and the talents which are coming out of universities and colleges, they are more inclined to do that kind of job compared to a manufacturing facility where digital transformation has not happened yet, specifically when we talk about people and workforce practices. So they are not finding it exciting enough to join that workforce, who are working in the manufacturing in still 80s, 90s way of doing things. And then also the learning effectiveness. People in previous generation, they stayed in a job role for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So the time to competency, in general, in manufacturing facilities, anything between 6 months to a year, or sometimes it is more than a year. So the investment that a company does on a new hire, spending 1.5 years to train them, give them enough support using a buddy system, over-the-shoulder learning, and then hand over independent charge, was okay because that person was staying in that role for a longer time. Now the new generations, they are inclined to change the job very frequently. The statistics says that the new generation workforce normally stays in a role for 1.5 years to 2 years, and then they change. Either they change the role or they change the company, or both. And so how do we shorten the time to competency from 1 year, 1.5 years to 6 months, or even less than that? And also the learning preferences of these new generations are different. They don't want to sit in a classroom and listen to lecture for days or for weeks, or they don't want to go through a 500-page documents, user manuals, to understand how different things work. They are mainly the Google, YouTube generation, and the learning preferences are also bite-size, just-in-time learning, more hands-on learning. All those are different things that they're expecting. So these all are the challenges that almost every industries are facing. And on top of it, if you look at, and this is a specific, a manufacturing facility, which like an hydrocarbon processing plant. The job that they do, or the field workers, the industrial workers that they do, is a very skilled work, and it needs lots of communication, collaboration, planning. And it's not only that they get a job permit and then go and do the job. It's not like those kind of a semi-skilled or less skilled work that people are doing in specifically the complex industries like manufacturing, hydrocarbon and all. If they spend 3 to 4 hours in a job, maybe 1 hour is the actual range time, actual execution time, and 2 to 3 hours goes in collecting information from different IT, OT systems, getting all the information that they need, manuals, different tools that they have to carry. They go in the field, and sometimes even they find it difficult to locate the equipment where they have to go and fix the problem. And many times it happens that the problem reported by operations was just the symptom, and what they see once they go to the field and inspect the equipment, the root cause is most of the time different than what was reported. And to fix that problem, they may have to come back to the control room again to get new tools, different tools, maybe different set of documents, maintenance procedure, or sometimes they may have to talk to their experts to know how to fix this because they did not face this problem earlier. So they are new to that particular problem. So many things happen in a day, in a life for such a field workforce that you may call it as a frontline workforce in manufacturing facilities. Very complex. So what they really need is, if you look from a workforce perspective, they want to prepare for the job. It should be easy to prepare. Then whenever the job is assigned to them, they should be able to plan the job and then execute the job right, first time, every time. So that's what they are looking for. And there are many different enablers to achieve that objective. So most of the time, what happens is people get carried away by the technology. And the focus goes into technology, not the use cases or the problems the end user is facing. And in this case, end user is basically a operator or a technician, maintenance technician in a manufacturing facility. So enablers should be enablers, right? It should, end of the day, help those workers to meet their objectives instead of focusing on a flashy technology and then try to push it down to the workers to use it. Now, when we talk about this transformation through different digital tools as an enabler, addressing a right use case, there are some challenges. And those challenges are mainly in the area of integration with different IT and OT systems. There are so many different level 3 and level 4, like your business network, enterprise network, where different IT systems, SAP, different documentation systems, all those things are sitting. Now, a person who is working in a manufacturing facility, they need information from all those IT, OT systems based on the problem, based on the task assigned to them. And giving them an integrated view in a seamless way, right? It is easy to use. Fetching the information on demand is not easy because those systems are complex in nature and they may not have an open interface to share data. Then comes the network and connectivity challenges. And this is for manufacturing facilities which are in a remote location, like an offshore platform, or even onshore, if it is in a geographically isolated place, the network connectivity is a challenge. And without a proper network connectivity, providing the information, the time they need it, when they're doing the job in the field is difficult. Then there is a human aspect of it. Normally, human behavior is there is always a resistance to change. People get into a comfort zone if they're working in a particular way for some time, and there will be resistance to change. So next slide, we'll talk a little more about it, why there is a resistance to change. And then security concerns. When we talk about connected solution, there is always a probability of increasing the surface for cyber attack. And then last but not the least, how to really demonstrate the ROI, because every investment in digital transformation has to go through a leadership approval where they ask for business case. How much you are investing and how do we really measure the return on that investment. Now, the resistance to change that we talked in the previous slide, this here I'm going to talk a little bit more about it, and it is mainly, if you see the middle of the slide, and on the left-hand side, it's the supervisor, and on the right-hand side, it's the field worker, operator or maintenance technician. The objectives for operations or objectives for maintenance are mostly same. They have a very common goal of improving the efficiency, avoiding a downtime, making sure plant is operating at an optimum capacity. All those are common. But now if you look at a personal level, as a human level, the emotional needs are a little different. When a supervisor talks about thinks about what are their emotional needs, like they don't want a plant trip during their shift. They want to make sure that the people working in that shift are safe. And if they need any help, the help is in place whenever they need it. Now, if you look at the field worker who is working in the field doing operation and maintenance, their emotional needs are a little different. They want to be seen as an expert by their peers. The peers should respect them for the knowledge that they have. They want to remain safe. And when we talk about giving a digital solution to a field worker, sometimes they also think that, okay, if you are making us more productive, will there be downsizing? Will I end up losing my job? Or are we going to track my each and every move? And, I don't want that. If I'm doing my job, I know how to do it. I don't want you to keep tracking me every minute what I'm doing. So these are some of the emotional needs which if we don't address in a proper way, then digital transformation specifically for workforce, right? Digital transformation for process and digital transformation for asset also have their own challenges, but this particular human nature and their insecurities, if we don't address, then there will be a resistance to that change. So how do we really build the business case? It is very important to start with what problem we are trying to solve. And that needs a proper discovery workshop with the right stakeholders at the manufacturing facility, and identify those challenges. Is it a safety issue that we are trying to address? Is it a productivity issue? Is it an efficiency, competency issue? What exactly we are trying to address? And then what's the priority of that? And what are the impact of not doing it? If we don't do it, what are the impacts of that? And then comes the solution outlining. So it is where you have to start thinking about how do we really solve the problem. And it is not only solving the problem, how do we really measure that the success of the solution? Is it really helping the industry, that manufacturing facility, and the workforce to achieve their objective? And then next important part is to consider the alternatives. As I said earlier, many times there is a urge to introduce a technology because we want to show we are doing digital transformation. Now, the challenge that we are addressing may be addressed in a little different way. It does not need a digital technology. So doing that analysis is very important, because if we have a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right? So that should not be the case. Picking the right problem which can be solved through digital technology is very important, instead of trying to solve every problem with digital technology. And then come up with a plan. And this is where it is important that there will be a long-term plan and a short-term phase-wise milestones. Digital transformation, specifically in workforce-related practices, is not a switch that I just turn it on and it gets transformed. It has to be in a phased manner with the right milestones identified. And then for every milestones, like for example, if it's a 1 year or 2 year overall program plan, then there will be two types of business case. One is at the end of 1 year, at the end of 2 years, what kind of value the customer will get. And it could be in a dollar calculation. But when we talk about this quarter, what we are going to do, next quarter, what we are going to do, that may not have a high dollar value impact. It is important to identify those lead indicators, which will eventually contribute to the long-term financial goal, be it reducing the production losses or improving the production capacity, optimizing the production, and that, let's say, that leads to a $5 million financial benefit by end of 1 year or 2 years of that program. Now, we may not be able to show $5 million just at the end of phase one, which is maybe 1 quarter. But identifying those as a lead indicator, that if these lead indicators are improving, this will eventually give you a $5 million savings by end of a year, is very important, and it's very tricky. It's not easy to do it. So that needs kind of a detailed session to identify those. Now, some of the lead indicators, it's just an example. My most favorite lead indicator, because what we have seen so far, is start with engagement. Start measuring the engagement score. Are people really using the solutions we have provided? What are the features that they are using at the beginning? Are they facing any challenges? Are there any usability problems? Because there will be definitely some usability challenges when we have a mix of workforce. We have an aged workforce, maybe who has worked for 20, 30 years, and we have a new workforce, and there is always a mix, right, in a facility. And there will be challenges with usability. So measuring the engagement score proper way is a very good starting point. And then start measuring how much time they used to take to fix this particular pump issue, and are they doing it in a maybe 30% less time? How much time they used to spend on training? Is there any reduction in training because of all the solutions that we are giving? So there are many different lead indicators. It's just an example, okay, and it will change based on facility to facility, industry to industry. But those are some examples that I'm just sharing. And then comes the long-term objective. What is the potential ROI? And if we can't present the potential ROI to the leaders in the organization at the beginning, it will be very difficult to get the fund to do that transformation. So this is an example calculator. I'm showing very simplified version. but again, based on the manufacturing facility, the industry, the segment, it will change a bit. But if we identify the right impact areas, the right levers, and what are the benchmarks around it, and what are the potential to improve, and put those numbers in a proper way, we can create a business case for the whole program. So creating the business case for the whole program, identifying the right levers that we are going to work on and improve, and how that improvement leads to an overall production efficiency is important. But it is also important to have the lead indicators identified early to make course correction if things are not going in right way after, let's say, 3 months or 6 months of the initiative. So what do we have in Honeywell? We call it Honeywell Workforce 360. As the name suggests, it's the solution for workforce, industrial workforce, and it's a 360-degree solution. So we are looking at each and every need of an industrial worker, and then providing the solution to make them competent, productive, and efficient, and safe. So this is not a technology solution. Again, I want to emphasize on that point, reiterate that point, that technology is the enabler. Technology is not at the center. Right? Technology will help. So we have a framework. We call it ETPA framework. Evaluate, train, predict, and assist. And we look at all aspects of that. And evaluate is basically the place where we conduct the discovery, understand what are the challenges they're facing, what is the current state, what's the desired state of that organization, what's the gap, and then come up with a plan. And then comes the train. How do we really improve the training efficiency? Again, it will depend based on the target audience. When you are training a new hire versus training a person who is 10, 15 years in the organization, the solution will be a little different. It will be a blended training, mix of technology, mixed of old ways of on-the-job assistance, learning, and some of the classroom training. Then comes the predict. So once the training is over and the person is back in the job, many times the tasks that are assigned to them comes as always an urgent priority, because there is a breakdown, there is an upset, there is a shutdown. So it's a firefighting that happens day in and day out. So urgent always takes priority over important in such cases. So if we can give a proper predictive insights about upcoming events, it will help the workforce to plan the job properly and make things better. And then assist part. Then once the planning is done and they're doing the job in the field, how can we bring all the informations from different places, IT, OT system, and give them, and it should not be an information overload. How can we really make a contextual information based on what they're doing and help them to get those right at the time when they're doing the job in the field? So that's the ETPA framework. And this ETPA framework, combined with all the enablers technologies, should eventually give all the benefits around improving the productivity, reducing the rework because of human errors, reducing incidents, and most importantly, building a resilient and adaptable workforce. So a little introduction to each and every, what do we have in evaluate, train, predict, and assist? Again, it's aligned to all those framework stages. So when we say evaluate, we have many different ways to do the evaluation. We have some data analytics driven tool we call Hello Operator Advisor to run analytics on the data collected from the system and do some objective assessment, do some benchmarking. We also have some very interesting digital tools. We call it Tutor, where there will be a different what-if situations given, along with some multiple choices, some hypotheses given to them, and see how they respond to it. Some diagnosis-related problem given to them, and capture how they react. And we also have some interview, some consultancy in this overall evaluate phase, and capture all that through a proper, curriculum kind of a solution that we have again in Honeywell, and start planning it. That where people are today, what are the gaps, and how to improve it. Then comes the train part. Now, training is a very important aspect of people development. And if you look at this S curve of a learning curve, it starts with building competency, going towards the confidence, and then eventually become a master. And there will be different types of intervention at different phases in the competency or in the learning curve. At the initial phases, it will be more like a important but not unique. Like if it's a instrumentation control technician, their basic knowledge would be what is a PID loop, what is the PID tuning, what is the DCS, what is PLC, what is SCADA, all basic things. But as they progress further, going towards mastery, that's where the unique aspects of that thing will start coming based on what kind of a system they are using. Is it a Honeywell controller? Is it any other third-party controller, PLC, safety system? And it's not only learning when it goes towards the mastery. It also the skills development by doing things hands-on. How can we help them to practice things in a hands-on way and gain the knowledge and become a master? So that's the learning curve. Now we have, like when it comes to the initial phase of the learning curve, apart from a regular classroom training, we also have a huge repository of e-learning. And it's not only the automation courses that we're talking about. We have 700 plus operations courses in our portfolio, like how to operate a plant, refinery, petrochemicals. Is it an upstream, midstream, downstream? What are the maintenance related informations, rotating equipment, instrumentation, electrical, the health, environmental health and safety, and definitely our courses on Honeywell automation, our UOP, Honeywell UOP process technology, so on and so forth. So overall, 1,000 to 2,000 courses that can be subscribed, and it will be like, on self-paced learning. Whenever they want to access something, there are longer courses and modular courses, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes courses based on their needs. And then comes now we talked about how do we really build mastery on something, and that happens by doing things. Previous generations, they have learned things by doing, but in a manufacturing facility like your hydrocarbon processing, refining petrochemicals, sometimes that the things happen 2 years, 3 years down the line. For example, a shutdown or turnaround, it happens once in 3 years, and only that time somebody gets opportunity to see how to align the compressor shaft, how to do the vibration probe calibrations, all those things. So how do we bring those which are important, critical, but not happening very frequently, and bring it into the virtual reality world? Allow them to interact in a virtual world which looks and feels like a real plant, real manufacturing facility, but it's a virtual simulated. And even it can be integrated with an operator training simulator, like our Honeywell operator training simulator, and have a digital twin for learning. Many times in a manufacturing facility, control room operator and field operators are working together, but they don't learn together. Bringing them in together in the learning will not only help them to learn things faster, but it will also improve their collaboration, the teamwork, how to do the things in a field. So all now use the technology to improve that aspect, right? And virtual reality, the metaverse, industrial metaverse, is a great way to do that. Then comes predict. Now, how do we predict them? There are, again, based on the job roles, the prediction solutions will be different. I'm just picking here 2 here. There will be many more. There are many more that we have. Like if it is a control system, we have a dashboard to monitor the health of a control system. If it's an operations, we have a runway kind of an information that we can give it directly to the console operator, the board operator or panel operator, whatever you call them, and give them ahead of time insights about what is coming and how to address, what actions they should take to avoid an upcoming event. So all those things can be used to plan their job properly. And then comes the assist part. Now, when they're doing the jobs in the field, how do we really assist them? And assist could be as simple as digitizing what they're doing it so that they don't make any human mistake. But it can also be many things, like if they need any information about past maintenance record or any specific PNID or any specific calibration procedure that they want to access to, how can we bring those into the field with the mobility solution? And also tracking them with respect to safety. It can be turned on and off based on the situation. If person don't want to be tracked, like if there is an emergency situation, it can be turned on to see where and all people are, and then help people to go to the nearest assembly point, nearest mustering point, or send somebody to that location to evacuate them. All those things can be done using different digital technologies. So case studies, I'm going to share 2 case studies here. And the important point here is starting with a smaller scope and have the big picture in mind and plan the things accordingly. So one is on an LNG plant. This LNG plant is building new trains, and they already have an operating training simulator. In that operating training simulator, operators are getting trained even before the trains are built. But the challenges they had was that they have to hire new field operators, and they have to wait till those trains are built to start learning. And after that, if they start learning, it will take time, 6 months to 1 year, before they really start contributing. So how can we build their competency? Well, that plant is under construction. So that was the starting problem, and then also bringing the learning of operator, field panel operator and field operator together. So we started with giving them the virtual reality as the starting point, that let's create the virtual replica of your physical plant, integrate with the OTS, so that if a panel operator does something in the OTS, operator training simulator, how it impacts the field, and vice versa. If field operator does any mistake in the field, how it can impact the process. So that was the first phase, which was delivered. And now what is the next phase? Next phase is how do we really manage that whatever we have built? That is very important, because plant changes very fast. New equipment gets added, new instrument gets added. How do we really keep that model, be it at the OTS side or in the virtual reality side, evergreen? That's services that we provide, and we have the global presence of our service organization, so we can do that anywhere in the world. Then how do we next digitize the work so once the learning is over, next phase is helping them on the job. So we have suggested some digitization of the existing procedures and safety aspect of it. So this is one example, right? So there could be many such things that, again, based on users' need. This is a very important point. If the needs are not identified properly, it's not going to work. And the second one is about a plant that we will, like this particular customer, Braskem, really talked about the digital divide, how there is a digital divide between the control room operations and the field operations, field maintenance, and how can we really bridge that gap. So here, instead of me talking, we will play a video, a 2 minutes video, where the customer is talking about what they have done with us and what kind of benefit they got. So let's watch the video.
We believe that chemistry makes our lives better. We produce 1 million tons per year of polyethylene. We convert ethane into ethylene and the ethylene into polyethylene.
Para producir ese polietileno es un proceso muy riesgoso porque manejamos gas y el mayor riesgo del gas es la explosión. Entonces, estuvimos buscando tecnologías que nos apoyaran con el asesoramiento a los operadores de campo, con la comunicación y control de riesgos en la planta. Sucede que en el 2018 Honeywell lanza en el mercado los dispositivos, los wearables.
This is a very, very exciting project because my first responsibility is with people. This technology has the ability to connect many, many people, having everyone pitching in to solve a problem, to walk through a difficult task. With this technology, you have a very effective tool to train our people. It's really easy to have everything at the reach: documents, PNIDs, procedures, working instructions. So whenever they need them, they're just at their voice command.
Ya con el uso de la tecnología, hemos visto un cambio en la percepción que tienen tanto los operadores, así como en las comunidades, también en el seno de nuestras familias, ¿no? Porque se ha difundido mucho que Braskem está invirtiendo en tecnología que ayudan a disminuir los riesgos que tenemos en la planta o en el complejo.
Braskem Idesa recognizes its role within the society. We have a social responsibility to become part of the region, develop the local talent, and keep growing the whole region.
Entonces, la gran diferencia es esa percepción de seguridad que ahora se tiene en las personas. Este proyecto me ha catapultado hacia tener nuevos retos profesionales y, pues, sin duda, siempre agradecido y orgulloso con la compañía.
Okay. So that's the last slide. So as a concluding remark, the workforce digital transformation is very important. We normally tend to ignore the workforce part and focus more on process and assets. So process, technology, and people all go together. If we ignore the workforce part of digital transformation, there is a high probability that the transformation that we are doing for process and asset will face challenges as well. So bringing people on board, making them efficient, using different digital technologies as enabler, and help them to do their job right, first time, every time, is what we are trying to do using this digital transformation technology focused on workforce.
Thank you. Now our presenter will answer questions from the audience. Please type your questions for Manas in the Ask a Question box on your screen, and we'll get to as many as time allows. Questions that we do not get to today will be posted online with the archived version of the webcast. Remember to download a certificate of completion and a copy of the presentation by using the Event Resources tab on the left side of the screen. And now on to the questions. So as we go ahead and type additional questions in, and we'll get to them as we can. The evaluate, train, predict, and assist framework sounds interesting. Do we always have to start with the evaluate portion and follow the circle around, or can we start on another phase?
Yeah, so we recommend to start with evaluate, Mark, because that is the place where we do the discovery and understand the customer problems, customer challenges, and what is going to give them the highest return on investment. So evaluate phase is something we always recommend as a starting phase. But after evaluation is done, then we may not have to follow the sequence in TPA way. So if the high value use cases can be addressed through an assist part of the framework, we can go to the assist to start with after evaluation and start showing the value of the transformation, and then eventually start focusing on other phases. So it really depends on where the challenges are, and then pick the phase and then start expanding from there to other phases.
Very good. So how do you assess the current state of workforce-related activities in the organization? That I imagine is a big task.
It is a big task, and it actually depends on the job roles that we are targeting. And when we say job roles, we are not only talking about control technicians or automations. We are talking about operations, control room operations, field operations, maintenance of mechanical equipment, electrical equipment. So identifying the job roles and then using the solutions which are related for the job role. And it could be some of the tools that we talked about, data analytics driven. We have some questionnaire-based assessment. We have some interview process in place where we go sit with some of those workers and understand, have a standard process in place. So all those things are combined together to do the proper evaluation.
Thank you. So if we want to start with a pilot project, how would you suggest to identify the right pilot and take things forward from there?
Yes, because it's very important to identify the right pilot at the beginning, because if we can't show the improvement after the first or second milestone, then the whole initiative will face a big problem, a big challenge. Leadership will start asking questions. Where is my return on the investment? So again, it's tied to the evaluate phase. If we are spending enough time with the right procedures in place to do the evaluation and then identify the high value use cases, be it in the safety area or productivity area, and it may change based on customer to customer. We have even seen one customer which has a manufacturing facility in a country A versus country B, the needs are different, although it's the same company. So that's the important part. Really understand the challenges for that particular site, for that particular facility, and then identifying the high value use cases to start the pilot. And that's a very important starting point. If we have a false start there, this transformation will have a big challenge.
Thank you for the audience questions so far. Please keep them coming and we'll get to as many as we can. So Manas, how do you measure program success? I imagine there's a lot of diversity involved.
Yes, there is. And there is always that long-term versus short-term measurement. So we cannot just depend on the long-term measurement and say like, okay, if I achieve $5 million, then only the program is success. It is important to identify the lead indicators, which eventually lead to that long-term $5 million. I'm just picking a number, $5 million. It could vary based on capacity and the needs, but Yeah, so that lead indicator is not easy to identify. It needs lots of understanding about the domain, lots of understanding about how people behave, how people do things. And we have that capability in Honeywell to do that. And we come up with that lead indicator, link with the larger goal, and start measuring early. And sometimes we may have to pivot things based on the learning. Every initiative may not be a success at the beginning. So learning from that and pivoting it fast is a very important aspect of this transformation and making the program success as well.
Very good. Does it make more sense that digital transformation technologies can help attract more next generation workers? The metrics look good. Can you please explain more about what kinds of Honeywell technologies and services help create those numbers in the examples that you provided?
Yes. So one thing is, if you look at the new generation workforce, they prefer bite-sized, hands-on learning. So how do we provide bite-sized, hands-on learning using technology? And industrial metaverse is a great way to do it. Create the situation, let's say 10 minutes or 15 minutes of task in the virtual reality world, which replicates the real plant in a virtual simulated way, and inject that problem there, ask them to solve that problem in that virtual reality industrial metaverse. And once they do it, it always says learn by doing, has a higher retention. And that's a very good way of learning instead of watching a video or listening to a lecture. And the new generation people, they actually like it. They want to learn by doing instead of learn by reading or learn by watching. So that actually attracts those people. That, okay, I don't have to spend a month in a classroom to learn about a complex process startup. I can learn by doing some virtual reality experience, which they are anyway used to in the gaming world today. Right? In the gaming world, virtual reality is very famous, and the same people is joining the workforce. And once they see the similar experience in a process plant, the attraction to the job automatically increases. This is just one example. Another is mobility. Right? Today, people are so much, mobile first generation. Anything they want to know, they first go to the mobile and either open Google or YouTube and quickly learn about those things. It was not there earlier in 80s and 90s. So now, when they come and join the industry and they say, oh, you want to know these things? Go to that particular place, go to file number 10, go to page number 120 and read that. They will not like it. Right? They want to see that their day-to-day experience with digital that they have in their day-to-day life, also in the industry that they are working. So all those things are very important to attract this new generation people.
Very good. Audience, please keep the questions coming. We'll get to as many as we can. Manas, for those starting with implementing digital transformation technologies, how do you advise getting buy-in to avoid stalling? I imagine implementing transformational changes can be difficult in many organizations, as you mentioned.
Yes, it is. And I will share a few generic examples here. So when we engage with digital transformation initiative, we have to identify few internal change champions. And the internal change champions, we have to also look at the demography of the workforce and try to identify few champions from different age groups. I have personally seen that digital transformation, while the new generation people, desire that, sometimes I have seen some of the old generation, like previous generation people, they are also equally excited about that. So there is a mix of people. Some people, they don't like it. They say, no, I don't like this gadget. I don't like this technology. I am fine with my old ways of doing things. But I have seen people in like who has worked in 80s, 90s, still working. They are also equally excited about some of the new technologies. So identifying some of those change champions from different age groups in that particular plant and bringing them on board is very important. And also we have to be very careful about identifying the change champion. That person should also have that respect amongst their peers. If the peers don't see them as a role model to look up to, then that can also create some problems. So it's a bit of a complex issue. So all those aspects that we have to consider while we identify those change champions.
Good. Thank you for the training advantages and tips. Could you talk more about the operational advantages beyond just having better trained workers?
Yes, so better trained worker is one part of it. Now, safety is also important. Specifically when the industry is hazardous in nature, or there are some complex machineries in place which can lead to accidents. So keeping people safe is a very important aspect. So when we talk about workforce transformation, it's not only about competency. How do we really make them safe? Then productivity aspect is basically giving them the information right on time to reduce the time to fix a problem. So if there is a machine problem because of which production is down, and if they spend 2 hours today to fix it, and if we provide them the right information at right time to bring it down to one hour, it can be anything between $500,000 to $1 million kind of a saving for a large manufacturing facility. So it is not only about the training, but also helping them to do the job when they're doing it with right information faster and in a user-friendly way can lead to a huge productivity improvement that shows up in the P&L.
Good. Audience, we do have a few more minutes for questions. Please type them in, and if we can't get them to them live, we'll get to them offline. Another question, in the 2 case studies, what were the key challenges resolved and maybe some of the lessons learned as you implemented the technologies and services involved?
Yeah, so I will talk about case study 1 because that is where we learned something very interesting. So in the case study 1, when we identified the problem of training the new hire when the plant was not even constructed and make them ready for the commissioning when the plant is ready, we provided the virtual reality solution. And we missed that one part that some people are not comfortable wearing a virtual reality device. So they have a dizziness problem, or after wearing for 5 minutes they feel motion sickness and they don't like it, right? So that aspect we missed it at that time, and then we quickly learned from it, and we again pivoted to that learning. And okay, it's not only its learning can be in the virtual world, but also can be in a 3D, in a 2D screen, so that the person who is not comfortable wearing the device can still have a similar experience on a computer screen. They can do everything on a computer screen the way they do in the virtual reality world and learn about those maintenance, learn about those operations. So that was a very good learning, right? Like we thought that everybody will be comfortable with the VR experience, but it was not.
Well, thank you, everyone, for the great questions. And thanks to our great speaker, Manas Dutta, for sharing his time and expertise today. I'd also like to extend special thanks to our sponsor, Honeywell, for sponsoring today's event and providing the information here. And now that we're just about done, we want to hear how we did. The exit survey will pop up on the screen as soon as the webcast ends. Please take a moment to complete it because we use the information to improve our webcasts. Finally, on behalf of Control Engineering and Honeywell, I'd like to thank you for attending. This concludes our webcast. Thank you and goodbye.